Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, here with all of you today, your boy Adrian Nino de Guzman. And today I have the lovely opportunity to interview and to be accompanied by Catherine Marie Sprunt, Tucson, Arizona's very own finest. How are you doing today, Katie?
Good.
Awesome. Well, today I wanted to bring Katie on to the show because I would like to ask her a series of questions about her life and what's changed recently in her life, and she'll be able to share that with us, and hopefully it's of value to you guys. And we definitely expect you guys to comment or to like this video if you see or if you feel a connection with what Katie has gone through in these last couple of months. Um, so, Katie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, just like Adrian said, I am from Tucson, Arizona originally. I moved up to Utah for school and I finished my bachelor's in psychology at Utah Valley University. Um, and so now I'm kind of in that space where I am um, pursuing my future goals in my career and yeah, also recently married. I got married last August. So that was a big change in my life that I think has a lot to do with some of the things that Adrian's going to touch on tonight.
Wow. Well, number one, congratulations on your wedding, and that is a huge step in someone's life, and definitely a huge change, and it helps someone progress. So that's amazing, Katie. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. For you, Katie, with obviously, well, moving up here to Utah, you mentioned that you moved up here for school. Um, what were some of the biggest struggles being on your own and doing school up here in Utah?
Well, I think it's probably the first time in my life where I really was completely independent. I lived at home after I graduated high school, and I did some school down in Arizona. I did some community college while I was there. But then I went ahead and decided to serve a mission for my church, and that was in Virginia. But that was kind of different because even though I was away from home and my family, I was still um, it was pretty structured and my schedules were for the most part pretty consistent. But moving up to Utah was the first time that I was completely alone and kind of had to just do everything by myself. And that included finding an apartment and paying for rent and finding a job up here, which I'd had a job in Arizona and I'd done that on my own before. But this was the first time that I really was pretty much doing all of that for myself, setting up my classes, setting up my class and work schedule, finding myself an apartment, learning how to set up utilities for an apartment. So just things that I've literally had never done before. I learned how to do.
Wow, that's awesome. So definitely a huge learning curve, it seems like, and having to being able to adapt to a lifestyle of you being in charge of of taking care of yourself. Now, I have a question, and I ask this question to a lot of the people that I speak to daily. Is um, when you, especially while you were going to school, how how did finances what were your finances like, and what effect did they have on your life?
Yeah. Well, something that off camera, I think that me and Adrian have discussed before too, is just how much of a struggle finances have always been for me. Um, Living at home, my parents always kind of encouraged that I go to school and focus on that. So they didn't necessarily focus on me having a job and managing and learning finances. And as we all know, public schools, high school does not teach you anything about
No, they don't.
finances or management.
No, they don't.
So I kind of went in with like little to no experience. I went ahead and did find my own job in high school because I wanted some more of that financial independence. But as far as learning how to manage the money that I received, I never learned. And so then coming up here, I had to learn, especially now starting to have to pay rent, because I was no longer living at home. I had to learn how to set aside money for rent and set aside money to pay for my groceries and for my phone and just all kinds of stuff like that. So it was definitely a struggle. I definitely lived in that paycheck to paycheck mindset because also in college you want to have a good social life. So sometimes you'd get carried away with wanting to go out and shop with your friends or go to the movies or
And that's fair.
yeah, exactly.
That's fair.
Do
Yeah.
lazy grace, but I didn't necessarily plan for how that was gonna look. So it was it sometimes got stressful not knowing like, oh, do I have enough to do this? Or oh my gosh, I paid my rent, I paid this, I have groceries, and now I don't have anything left to go out with some friends. So that was definitely a struggle.
Yeah, wow, absolutely. And I think I can definitely connect to that. Like having to just managing, right? Where your money's going to, like spending it on friends, on a social life, having fun, and then obviously you still have bills, but you got to focus on school. And it sucks too because you don't have like a full-time job and you're a full-time student, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're making ends meet barely each week.
Yeah.
So with that, like did you ever feel stressed out?
Yeah, all the time.
Hmm.
Thank goodness I went into college with not having. I was blessed to not have to pay for my tuition. I was on some kinds of a couple type of scholarship type things. Um, so mostly it was paying for those bills. But when you have zero, knowledge or experience with money management, you and I didn't have a budget set up for myself. You really do just kind of spend where you want to, and especially being single for most of my college experience, uh, it was just that mentality of like I can spend whatever I want. It's my money. I earned
Yeah.
it, and I didn't necessarily. I wasn't accountable to anyone. It was all up to me, and I had nobody to be accountable to, and I was definitely not accountable to myself.
You were taking care of number one, you were doing you. So yeah, so it's interesting that you say like you weren't being accountable to yourself. Now it if you would have known what you know now, what would have changed back then? How would you have been more accountable to yourself?
I think I would have definitely planned my money a little bit better. Um, and there's several ways that I think people do that, but I know a budgeting is a big one. There's a lot of really good apps out there that help manage money. I think I probably definitely would have tried some of that. And then obviously seen what kind of has worked for other people. But definitely having more of a structured budgeting type plan.
Absolutely. The B word, right? It's a word that not a lot of people run away from. So that's just being able to know, like, control your money. It sounds like is something that would have that would have helped you out. So Katie, now from you obviously college student and you recently got married, what's changed? And do you feel like you control your money more now, like where it's going and what you wanted to do?
Yeah. Well, I will say for me personally, finances are always going to be a stressful topic for me. So I don't think it's become less stressful. It's just that the stressors are kind of a little bit different. Before it was not having enough money, and now it's focusing more on saving and making sure that I'm because once you get married, all of that merges, and hopefully, I think that that's personally to me being on the same page with finances with your spouse is super important. One, because you're accountable to each other, and two, because my husband is way better with finances than I am, so he's really kind of helped me get into that mindset. But going back to what I was saying about the stressors, it's just a different mindset. Before it was, do I have enough money to do this? Now we do have enough money because we plan together and we budget together, and that's the major difference, is that we're keeping track of our finances, where that money is being spent. That's something that I never did before. It was just, okay, I have this much left. I don't know what happened to what I had already spent. I have no idea where that went. It could have been to Chick-fil-A, clothes, who knows what. But now it's tracking what has been spent and then what's still we need to take care of, what's still important in the budget. And just more than anything, just keeping track of that. Sometimes that can be stressful, but overall I think it is for the better, because now I can see that there is savings. Now I can see where my money is going and where we need to be better with our spending. So I think if that answers your question, those are kind of the major differences that I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And has that change been something that you've gotten used to gradually or immediately? How's that process been of changing that system for your finances?
Well, like I said, because when you get married, that's like a big change in itself. And so the way I handled my finances was completely different. Like I said before, I had no one that I needed to be accountable to other than myself, but there was not another person that I needed to report what was happening financially in my life to. So, okay, I think you're going to have to repeat the question because I feel like I'm getting maybe a little bit sidetracked here.
Just the change, like with changing your mentality.
Oh, right. Yeah, so the biggest change, I guess I could say, and the way that it's changed is that now I need to be on the same page and I need to be accountable to somebody else. And, when you kind of merge lives and things, a lot of things are different. And the change was a little bit, it's tricky because before I could go out and spend how I wanted, and there was no, there was the guilt because that just came from within, being like, oh, dang it, I probably shouldn't have bought that. But now it's not just that internal thing where I can just shrug it off. Now I do have to have that conversation. Like, and the way we structure our finances isn't in a way that's like restrictive or anything, but still, because we need to know where the money's going, it's still a conversation that needs to be had. Why, where did $50 go today? And it's never something that me and my husband have ever been like, oh, why did you do that? How could you? And it's never that. It's just the fact that the conversation just has to happen so that we're aware. And that's the biggest change, because before I didn't have to do that. And that's, I think, what's difficult. And it was pretty abrupt. As soon as we got married, we said, and it was important to me too. He was good at finances. I wanted to be good at finances. I think that's the important part. I know this is mostly about finances, but a little bit of kind of relationship advice, being on the same page is so important. And especially with your finances, there's tons of statistics out there that show how big of a role finances play in marital happiness and success. So right from the get-go, we both were on the same page with wanting to be good with our finances. So it was abrupt, and it has been definitely trial and error. And I think that's why I feel a little bit of the stress from it. But the more we do it and the more consistent we are with it, the better I do feel, the less stress I feel as time goes on. So. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome, Katie. And definitely it seems like you're working each and every day. And I like the fact that, accountability is the biggest lesson that you've learned. And obviously just knowing that the conversation has to happen, right? You can't hide. You can't hide from your finances. You have to talk about it. You have to know where everything is going with your money. Now, it's something that happens on the daily, from what I understand, correct?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, there'll at least be the verbal communication, and then definitely like a more formal, like, okay, let's sit down and like really look at it. But definitely, I think checking in daily is important, just so that, we know where we're at.
And are you better off financially now?
100%. Because saving is something I've always desired to do and have never been able to do. And now we're at a point, and I'm at a point where I'm seeing savings start to grow, and that's important because you need to have that backup money, and there's also goals that we have. So
absolutely. Well, that's awesome, Katie. No, thank you so much. And last question. Why are those goals that you said there at the end? Why are those goals so important to you?
Um, so as a psychology major, I've had the chance to be in a lot of different classes and, study a few different things. One of the classes that I thought was pretty interesting in my college career was positive psychology, and we just talked about how we find happiness in life. And studies have shown that, happiness does not increase with great amounts of wealth, but there is an increase from that poverty and struggle and discomfort to being in a place where you're comfortable, to being in a place where you can take care of your basic human needs, where you can buy your groceries, where you can pay your bills and still have enough to just, have a date night or go shopping and buy yourself new clothes when you need. And that's where happiness and good things in your life come into play. When you're able to purchase your home, or when you're able to finish your payments on a car, or even just buy a car up front in cash, when you don't have the added financial stress of money and not being able to have those basic things that you need for life, and sometimes even just a little bit more to enjoy life, that's important to me. That's important that I'm able to have that for myself. It's important. I don't have any kids yet, but it's important for me to create that foundation for when we decide to start a family. So, and I think for anyone, who is thinking about finances and how to manage them more, to have that future mindset is really important. And that's why it matters to me, because I have goals of being a homeowner, of just being able to feel very financially secure, very stable, having a savings, having the ability to pay for my children's college one day. Those are great blessings that I desire. So
I love it, Katie. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that insight. I'd say the conclusion to everything that Katie said is that her finances, it sounds like she doesn't want it to be an impediment. Is that true? Even an impediment to your legacy, an impediment to reaching your goals?
That's absolutely true.
Exactly. And that's the truth for each and every one of us. And I hope that you guys were able to connect with Katie's sentiment. And I know that if you guys focus on your goals, and if you do the simple things, and you sacrifice now and go through the pains of budgeting, of being accountable, you will be right on track, like Katie is, to hitting those future goals and building that legacy and empire that she wants. All of you can also build and construct that empire and leave that legacy behind you. This has been the Adrian Niño de Guzman channel. And if you guys have not caught on, Katie is my wife. And I am so happy that she was able to get on and do this interview for all you guys as well out there, just to share how she's changed in the last couple of months with her money. So make moves and stay far from timid. Only make moves if your heart's in it, and live the phrase, sky's the limit. Love you guys. Thank you very much, Katie. Any last words? Love y'all.
Love y'all.
Love y'all. Deuces. Thank you. Hey, give us a like or give us a comment on below if you guys connected with Katie, or just like the video, show us some love. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.